In this section, we are going to look into the concept of migrations in Truffle. So, if you look at any other programming language like Ruby on Rails, etc., they use migrations for any changes that are made in databases. Even Django, which is a REST framework so used for building applications on Python, uses this migrations. Right. Whenever, let's say, you are changing something in the database as a add a column and things like that, you will migrate that so that the changes get reflected. Right. So a similar concept is used in Truffle also to deploy our contracts. Okay. So as you would have seen, Ethereum Masterclass, whatever we have taken, has three different folders. We have seen already what is there in build. We know what is there in contracts. The next one we are going to talk about is migrations. Let me open this initial migration and see what is there. It's a very simple 5-line code which is going to deploy our contract, right? So if I go back to call.js, that's why call.js becomes important, right? To understand the difficult process first, then go through the easier one, right? Here we just got the accounts, then we told contract.deploy.send on, then, and things like that. All of those complexities are not there when you do it with Truffle. Okay. So what is this doing is it's saying artifacts.require. What is this artifacts.require? It is going to the build folder to find migrations.json. That's what we have given, migrations.json, right? And it is adding that to a variable here. Now it says it takes a function deployer. You don't need to usually change this code. It is a pre-written code by Truffle, right? Only thing you might want to change is this variable, right? When I wanted to deploy migrations.sol, I did this, right? And when I want to deploy, let's say sample.sol, I want to change this to sample maybe, right? Before that, let's understand what is this migrations.sol. We have not opened that at all yet, right? So you can see that this also uses MIT license. Yeah. So migration says owner, last completed migration, and restricted, set completed. So it takes care of, okay, what was the last compilation and migration that you did versus what is happening now and things like that, right? This is happening internally and you don't need to touch on this file at all. Let it be there. That's fine because this keeps a track of your migrations. Okay. So this initial migration is pertaining to the migrations.sol file that we just saw. Now I need to create a new migrations file, right? So you can note that this migrations folder has a file called as initial migration. That is fine. But why is there this one underscore initial migration is something that we need to understand. Okay. So before we understand that, I'll show you when we run the command why it is there. I just need to duplicate this. Okay. I'll just copy and paste it here itself, right? Will I be able to paste it here? Yeah. Okay. So I just want to make a duplicate of it so I don't need to write all this myself, right? So kind of lazy in that sense. So I can say 2 underscore sample, right? Or let's say 2 underscore sample underscore migration also. I mean, if you just want to follow the naming culture. So 2 sample migration, I want to go into artifacts, which is there in my build folder and look at sample.json. So instead of migrations, I'll make it sample, correct? Change this also and hence say change this as well, right? So this code is going to deploy our sample contract into the blockchain. Okay, so save it. Wonderful. Now sample migration and initial migration is done. One thing we need to do before running the migration command is go to truffle config again. Okay, why did I go to truffle config is because if you go to the top, right, now what I want to do is I don't want to deploy my contract into the mainnet or testnet or anything. I just want to deploy it into my Ganache blockchain, correct? So in networks, you will see there is a development network, right? There is an advanced, network, and you have the Ropsten network, private network, multiple things, correct? So what I want to use is the development network. Okay, you can just comment these 4 lines out, 4 or 5 lines, right? And if you look at it, it says host 127.0.0.1. have seen this somewhere. It is in the Ganache itself, right? So if you go to Ganache, you can see 127.0.0.1, and this is 7545, whereas our code reads 8545, because this is for, I'll just comment it here itself. 8545 is for Ganache CLI. Okay, there is a command line tool also for Ganache, but we have downloaded the 7545 is for Ganache UI. We have downloaded the UI version. Okay, so instead of connecting to 8545, we need to connect to 7545. Okay, other things you can just remain same, not an issue. Save the truffle config file before doing it. Otherwise, truffle has its own Ganache CLI. While you install truffle itself, this also comes along with, and it will deploy it into 8545, which you will not be able to see the transactions and all of that. Correct? That's the reason why we are changing this. Okay, I'm just clearing this so that it's clear what we do. I'll say truffle migrate. That's it, right? So once I say truffle migrate, it is gonna start deploying my contracts into the blockchain. Okay, so you can see it has been done already, right? Because it is a local blockchain, it doesn't take time and all, right? So it is saying compiling your contracts. So you don't need to separately do truffle compile and then truffle migrate always. If you just say truffle migrate, it's going to compile and then run the migration script. That's fine. So it says network name is development. Where did it get from? From my truffle config file, right? And the network ID is 5777. Where is that coming from? From here, network ID, correct? And yeah, and you can see the gas limit is 79000 something, which is also coming from my truffle, Ganache, right? And initial migration, what is this 1_initial migration is the first file, right? Now deploying the migrations contract. Okay, so this is getting some ether and things like that. Now I have 2_sample migration.js. Okay, so this is the transaction hash, and this is the contract address where it has been deployed to. It has been deployed to block number 3, it seems, and the balance of the account, what is the amount of gas used, everything, right? So it is saving the migration to the chain and saving the artifacts, total cost and final deployment. Total deployment is 2 because we had one migration.sol and one sample.sol, correct? So look at Ganache transactions, and you can see our contract address here. So contract creation 3160, I think that's the one being given here also, 3160, correct? So that is how my sample has been deployed into the blockchain. Now only thing we have left now is to understand why this 1_ and 2_, right? Within migrations, sometimes you might need to create 2 contracts, okay? And one contract can be deployed only after the other contract is deployed, kind of a situation, right? When you're inheriting or using the other function or any of these cases, you want to deploy one contract first, the parent contract maybe, and then deploy the child contract, correct? So otherwise it's not going to know where the contract is and your migration might fail. So you need to give a sequence, okay? So here 1_ means this will be the first migration that will happen, and then 2_ sample migration will happen, correct? So that is the concept of why this numeric character that you are giving in the beginning of the migrations file means a lot. Okay, so that is why you can see that 1 has been deployed first and 2 has been deployed second, to tell the sequence in which it has to deploy. Compiling is not a problem. Compiling you can do anyhow, right? But this migrations is what happens. Now one thing we need to keep in mind is that, let's say you're changing something in sample.sol. Okay, instead of returning, instead of doing a plus b, you'll do a plus b plus 1, let's say. Okay, some change you are making, right? Now if you do truffle migrate, right, it's gonna look at that, and it will not replace the JSON files that are already there in artifacts. Okay, that is something that many people forget, correct? And it says network is up to date because it does not read what is happening here, what has been changed and things. To make sure you you reflect the changes in the deployed file, right? You need to do truffle migrate --reset. Okay, Many people forget this, or I don't know, are not aware of this, right? But you need to do hyphen hyphen reset. Otherwise, what you can do is one more thing. Instead of reset, you can delete this build folder. Just delete this build folder and then run tuffle migrate whenever you are making a change in the contract itself. Okay, so that is something you need to keep in mind. This might come as an issue. You might change something in your contract, but it is not reflecting in the blockchain, right? We might face some issues that way, and at that time you'll I don't know, you'll go crazy thinking about what have I done wrong. But this will be a small thing that you need to do. Add a hyphen hyphen reset with migrations. Okay, so if I do truffle migrate hyphen hyphen reset, previously it told network up to date, correct? Network up to date. But now it is compiling, it is also migrating again, which means reset is working, correct? So that is one thing which you need to know in migrations. Okay. Hope I was able to explain this with an example of how to migrate and things, right? We'll see in the next video.